Over a year ago, I took a big step and started therapy again after many years of not speaking to a therapist because I was struggling with my mental health a lot. And then I took an even bigger step and told the world about it. And I called that video Life as an Anxious Artist. And this is my 1-year update. Looking back at that video over a year later, I never realized how much courage I had to speak up about struggling with mental health on the internet. Sometimes there is a stigma against mental health, and sometimes I like to advocate for it because I've been struggling with mental illnesses for a really long time. And at the time in the video, I spoke about how I was struggling with depression and anxiety, hence the title. And at the time, I was also in my final year of community college, and I was really worried about finishing my degree on time because I took a step back and took some more time for myself, took some time for therapy. And then I graduated at the end of that year, and at first the worries pretty much went away as I started taking those classes. At first, like I said, I was really worried about it, but then some people helped me realize that it's not that big of a deal. It's not a lot of people finish community college in the 2 years that they suggest that you finish it. Some people take even longer than that. And so I realized that, and I was like, okay, this will be fine, especially since I'm taking care of myself. And to update you all on how I've been doing since then, since graduated, and I am going towards another degree. As you all know, many mental illnesses do not have cures, so I can't say that I don't have anxiety anymore or that I don't have depression anymore. I still get very anxious and have nights where I have a really hard time sleeping because I can't stop thinking, and I still have very depressed days where I just doom scroll and don't take care of myself very well. But as long as I utilized my coping skills and talk about my feelings when I'm ready to, or even write about them, those days happen a lot less, and those good days happen more often. As you might have already guessed, one of my coping mechanisms is art. And when I spend hours of my day drawing or painting, there's very little time in the day where I'm anxious or sad or thinking at all because I'm so occupied with something that I really enjoy doing. I feel like when I'm making art, my brain almost completely shuts off and I stop thinking and worrying completely. And I will say that doesn't go like that every single time. Every drawing isn't perfect. As you can tell, I went back to this drawing and tried to make it look nicer and somehow added a bunch of spirals. And I don't hate it as much as the original drawing, but I think it's kind of funny how I plan to talk about mental health for this video and I drew some spirals. So sometimes anxiety does feel like spiraling, and I feel like I subconsciously started drawing that. So there are times where I end up disliking a drawing and that will really upset me, but it doesn't push me to be like, oh, you're worthless. Luckily, I know a lot of people do that sometimes, and that really sucks. But I just try to say, okay, that was not my best work, and I know I can do better, and I can just fix this at a later time. And which is what I did for this drawing specifically as well, and which is what I do for some of my drawings that do end up that way. Because I don't want to look back at my sketchbook and feel disappointed in myself that I didn't try. So I always take a break and either continue drawing or come back to that first drawing and see what I can do with it. And that's been a thing I have been using in this sketchbook specifically. There have been a few pages just like this that I really didn't like, but once I stopped and just took some extra time away from it, or just drew a completely new drawing and just kind of forgot about it for a minute, and then I flip back through the pages and see some drawings that I don't like, then I'll go back and fix them. And like I said, this was the perfect example. And I try this thing where I like to call it a sketchbook dump, where I just draw very random things to replace the weirdness that originally happened in that drawing. And I always like to draw portraits. I always just found a love for drawing people. I don't know where it came from. I just would draw my family all the time and look at people on the internet and draw their faces, and I don't know, it was almost like an escape to like draw somebody else. I also used to create original characters where I drew them completely from my imagination and gave them a cool life that I kind of always wanted, gave them tattoos or piercings that I don't have, and gave them cool hair and the perfect like art dream job and all that. That was all just like to escape the weird sad life I was living. So I've always used art in my life. I've created any kind of art pretty much my entire life, which led me to studying art and getting an art degree, and I'm proud to say that I am continuing that. I am starting university very soon, which I do get anxious about whenever I think about it, how fast time is going by and how close the new semester is coming up. And starting at a different school, everything is brand new, and that's always the scary part of starting things new. And I'm one of those people that don't really like change, so an unhealthy thing I've been doing is just like not thinking about it, and then when I do think about it, I get really scared and will just try to forget and just hope that everything will be okay once the time comes. And one of the biggest things that I tend to worry about is my future. And we live in a society where art isn't seen as a successful field. But when I look at artists that I follow, like Tiffany Tan, aka Apple Cheeks, Paloma Peach, and She's Elle, and Camilla, and so many others who have all in their own ways studied art and are doing very well and love what they do and create all the time and make content, I definitely look up to all of them and many other artists who create full-time or have art businesses. And whenever I get worried, I just try to tell myself that I will get there and I will be who I want to be. And I'm very grateful to have such a nice community of followers like you who are pulling for me to be great, and a loving family who's always supported my art, and those people who always comment how underrated I am, which I always appreciate. I try to think about the good, and the people that I love also remind me that those things as well, so I try to hope more than worry. But that doesn't always happen, and I've been battling mental illnesses for over 10 years now, and I can't say that I know how to pull myself out of it every time. I have bad days where I won't even speak a word, and during that time my mind is so clouded and foggy that I can't even comprehend why I can't speak. But I know that there is someone always patiently waiting for me when I'm ready to talk, and making sure I'm drinking enough water and eating food. Once again, I am grateful to have people that I love that care that much for me when I'm really down, because 10 years ago I felt completely alone and thought that I would always be like that, but that simply wasn't true. But there's also another thing I've been really struggling with, and I think it's something that has always been there, but it just took me a couple years to figure it out. And along with my anxiety and running thoughts, I sometimes have pretty obsessive tendencies. Now, I'm not diagnosed with anything. I started to notice this past year that I get really overwhelmed about certain things, and my mind is always running with thoughts, like I mentioned. Even when I'm in the middle of a conversation, I just can't seem to sit still and listen because I'm thinking about other things, and I'm always checking things a dozen times, even though I've already double-checked them or triple-checked them. And this is something that I've had a hard time acknowledge, especially in the moment. I try so hard to tell myself, like, I don't need to check again, or I don't need to do this right now. I can wait, but it's, again, really hard to do that at the time because you don't understand why this is happening. And I'm always doing like so many things at once. If you ever watch my vlogs, I do so much in like one day, and there's even a lot that I don't share in those videos, but I am sometimes like an editing machine or a recording machine. I'm just filming and editing all the time and drawing all the time. Don't get me wrong, I do love those things, but like sometimes I'm editing for like several hours a day, and that's not always healthy because I get pretty bad headaches from doing all that. But the takeaway from this is that you're not alone if you're related to anything that I said, and whenever you feel like failure, remind yourself that for one, you're not, and two, you have accomplished things, even if you think you haven't, and you have taken big steps, and this bad feeling will pass. Just take it one step at a time. I know it's so simple to say that and do it, but really, really try, and you will see results. And if you don't have anybody to remind you that you are worth living and that you will be great and that you are amazing, hear me out and try to figure out how to do it for yourself. If you are not listening to other people that are saying it to you, I know it's really hard to take in people saying that you are not a failure because you really believe it, but figure out the best way to tell yourself. A simple post-it note, an app that sends you daily affirmations, a quote that you really like taped to your phone case or on your lock screen. There are so many ways you can do it. You just have to find your best one. For me, it's looking at my sketchbooks. It really makes me feel really good, and seeing my art on the walls and just looking at art all day. And if anybody teases you about it, tell them to try it themselves, because if they're bullying you about it, they probably need it too. They just haven't realized it. And just don't feel ashamed of reading self-help books or having several notes on your mirror that say, "You're gonna have a great day today," or "You're beautiful." And that was something that my mom would always tell me before school, and like magic, I would have an amazing day, and I'd be like, "Hey Mom, you said I would have a good day today," and I did. And some things are simple fixes or even temporary fixes, but if you're really having a difficult time and need help, tell somebody that cares about you, and you won't feel alone about it anymore. And they'll figure out how to help you the best way that they can. And don't keep those bad thoughts inside, because I know firsthand that they only make it worse. And with that all being said, I learned a lot of things about myself since last year. I still struggle, but I still try to move forward and look ahead and just hope and take in the very moment. And I'm not perfect, I'm not cured, but right now I can proudly say that instead of having a few good days or weeks a month, I've been having good months, and I hope it's not a fluke, and I hope they continue. But I do a lot of combinations of things that I think have been really helping me. For one, art is my number one coping mechanism. I sometimes like to watch movies or TV while I'm drawing, and that just helps me spend a lot more time on the drawing, and I am focused. And I also like to take walks, I like to read, I like to exercise, and spend time with the people that I love, and pet my cat. There truly are emotional support animals, even if they're not. But thank you so much for listening, and like I said, I hope you related to anything, and I hope maybe some things I said helped you or helped you realize something about yourself. If you watched and listened until the end, I truly thank you for listening, and I am being very vulnerable today, but I think that it is truly important to talk about things like this and to learn that there is nothing wrong with me, even when my brain tries to make me believe that. And I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe took a little something from it. And thank you so much for watching. And if you've been here since my first Life as an Anxious Artist video, wow, you are truly cool, and you rock. Again, thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.